John and Freddie are here to go through the newspapers this morning. Freddie, Just Stop Oil protesters, first of all. This awful footage that has gone viral about these two people with the hammers smashing that portrait at the National Gallery. Do we know if there's any harm to the painting? Do we know that yet?
I don't think there is. They've smashed the glass, which appeared pretty tough. And it sort of shattered, as you can see in the video. It's Velázquez's Rokeby Venus, which is a wonderful painting, slashed by the suffragettes, of course, as well. And
why do people seem to target that particular picture?
Well, I can see why the suffragettes did it, because it's a picture of a naked woman, and it was sort of slightly erotic art. In a way. I could see that just about. I think targeting that on behalf of oil is rather odd, but it's also interesting that the protesters tried to identify with the suffragette movement. They said, you know, women suffered in 1914.
Do you know, honestly, Freddie, this is where I think there's something wrong with me, because I'm looking at those two people and I think they're so affected, they're so pumped up with all of this that
well, one of them's wearing an NWA cap, which is a rap group, and so he just looks like a bit of a...
What is an NWA cap?
I can't say it out loud, but it was a rap group in the 80s.
Should we call them what they are? They're posh, spoilt kids who really, this is about them. This isn't about Just Stop Oil.
But they're so intense, Storm. They're so intense about everything.
Their names are Hanan and Harrison. I mean, they're never called Wayne and Sharon, are they? I mean, they're never working-class kids, because working-class kids are out earning a living.
It's not about...
Dawn is absolutely right. That's because you're a snob, and that's why you're...
I don't know anything about their backgrounds at all, but we...
But you can judge from that.
Everyone else seems to be judging.
Well, if her name was Kylie, you would judge it, wouldn't you?
No,
you would.
I don't think it's relevant to the story.
Well, it's totally relevant to the story. I'm with my colleague here.
Thank you very much. And let's talk about Mary Richardson, who was the suffragette that originally attacked this painting with a machete.
Probably.
She was actually posh, yes.
Wow.
She was a Canadian.
Take away her right
But she also...
See, you're children of posh names. That's why you don't see this. It's absolutely true.
I don't think Hanan is a particularly posh name.
In any case, Isabel, Mary went on to... She's not a great example of a suffragette to follow, because she went on to develop a complete crush on Oswald Mosley and become a fascist black shirt. So,
right.
So I would pick on... I think it's completely wrong they're comparing themselves to suffragettes. These people have a voice. They have a legitimate voice. The suffragettes I disagree profoundly with a lot of the things the suffragettes did, like blowing theatres up and attacking paintings in this way. But they didn't have a voice. They had no opportunity at all to get their voice out, apart from doing this. These people do.
Right. I also think there's a kind of, without wanting to be too depressing, there's a slightly broader malaise and decadence going on, where increasingly people think that these actions aren't just sort of provocative, they're morally good. And you see this with protests on Palestine and so on. Being destructive, breaking things up, causing trouble, especially if you can get it to go viral, is seen as a success. And the more people are angry about it, the more you see it as a success.
Well, speaking of protests that people were very angry about, Dawn, let's talk about this story, front of the Daily Mail. And this is a poppy seller in his 70s, caught up in a pro-Palestine rally, who says he was punched and kicked by a mob.
This is a chap called Jim Henderson. It was in Edinburgh's Waverley Station on Saturday. Jim is 78 and served in Northern Ireland. There were 1,200 demonstrators in the station, and you can see pictures, if you look at from the CCTV cameras in the station, of our Jim standing there on his own, surrounded by the sea of Palestinian flags. According to him, he bent down to get his collection box up because he was worried about the crowd of people there, and was punched on the back. Now, there is no actual footage of this that I can work out. But the problem you've got with this, right, this is all about, obviously, the Armistice Day march that is planned in London on Saturday, coinciding with the actual 2-minute silence at 11 o'clock. And as we know, the Metropolitan Police have advised that it be called off. Suella Braverman has branded it a hate march. The irony is, right, the genuine protesters who are marching for peace. They want an armistice. So the fact that they have a right to peacefully march, I support that. We are a democracy because the people that died in the wars fought for that democracy, and that's why we all have the right to march. The timing is an issue.
Well, just to clarify, my understanding is that the organisers have said the timing will not coincide.
No, it won't.
It's going to be in the afternoon, and I think that's an important point.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2-minute silence is 11 o'clock.
I think that the time's got nothing to do with it. It's the stretching of the security forces around the place. There just is not enough police manpower or woman power to deal with this.
No, and there's been 160 arrests since these marches started. This is the 5th one due to go ahead. The officials have said the march, as you said, Isabel, starts at 12:45. It's not going down Whitehall. It's not going near the Cenotaph. And they are saying, as they have every week, to be peaceful. Now, there are always people that are agitators amongst this. There are people, rent a mob, I mean, and there are always people that are determined to cause a scene. But does that stop the right for people peacefully demonstrating?
We have to differentiate in some awful way. Whatever atrocity was carried out against Israel, terrible, 1,700 people dead and whatever, the response, surely people have got to recognise now, is totally disproportionate with the, 10,000 people?
10,000, according to Hamas. Yes, of course. And, you know, there are children dying. Children have died on both sides. The question then you ask is, what were Israel meant to do? I mean, I'm not supporting either side. It's not a football match, for God's sake. You don't have to pick a side.
The guy who might be confused by that, always talking about the other team.
Yeah, well,
hopefully.
exactly. But what you'd have to do is to want to support peace and children to stop dying on both sides.
We're going to continue this important debate in the next paper round because we have to make way. We've got a government minister coming up in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and after that we'll be speaking to the Secretary of State for Justice, that's Alex Chalk, about the King's speech later today.